Form was supposed to take 40 minutes. I know. Because I had blocked 40 minutes in my schedule. I'm a junior classification assessor for the Vaethari Sovereign Assessment Directorate. Classification Wing, Intake Bay 7, and I have never once overrun a scheduled block. 22 forms, filed without a single null result. I had a reputation for clean paperwork. Name was Celtic Marin. Coalition intake, flagged as varath-null Class 15 origin, attached to the Joint Exchange Cohort arriving from the Human Compact. That last part hadn't registered as significant. I had processed Class 12 deathworld intakes before, 2 of them, and both sessions had closed on time. Elevated cardiovascular baseline, above average bone density, pain threshold in the upper quartile. Unusual, but the system had drawers for all of it. Filed the form and gone home. I logged Cella Marin in at the standard window and told her to sit in the assessment chair. She sat. She was small, shorter than I expected, dark-haired, a faint old scar along the line of her jaw. She was eating something from a wrapped packet she'd brought with her. I asked her to please hold still for the baseline scan. She said sure and kept eating. The first instrument was the autonomic stress array. It reads ambient cortisol analog markers, the chemical signature of a body that knows it is being evaluated. Every species produces it. The array calibrates in 6 seconds and returns a number between 0 and 100, where 0 is a corpse, and 100 is the upper limit of recorded biological stress response. I had never seen a living subject score below 12. The array ran at 6 seconds. It returned a 4. I checked the calibration. I ran it again. 4. I noted it in the margin as a possible equipment fault and moved to the next instrument, because that is what the protocol says to do, and I follow protocol. The predator response cascade is the second station. It projects a rapid sequence of threat-coded stimuli, movement in peripheral registers, sudden pressure drop simulation, a subsonic pulse at the frequency that triggers threat recognition in most coalition species. The instrument measures latency between stimulus and physiological response. Fast latency means a body that has been frightened before and learned to move first. Very fast latency means something that doesn't wait to be frightened at all. The lower bound on the scale is 0.08 seconds. That number exists because no recorded biology responds faster. The instrument wasn't built to measure below it. Cella Marin's latency came back at 0.6. She was still eating. I set down my stylus. I looked at her. She looked back at me with the mild, patient expression of someone waiting for a transit connection. I asked if she was feeling all right. She said she was fine, a little tired from the crossing. I asked if the subsonic pulse had been uncomfortable. She said she hadn't noticed it. I called Senior Examiner Dath Orvan. Orvan had filed forms for 22 years. He had seen elevated baselines. He had seen unusual cortisol profiles. He had once processed a Scathani mineral adaptation cast whose bone density required 3 recalibrations and a specialist consultation. He arrived at Bay 7 with the calm of a man who had seen most things. He looked at my margin notes. He looked at Cella Marin. He told me to run the full battery. Pain threshold assessment. The instrument delivers calibrated pressure at 10-point intervals and logs the point of first reported discomfort. The scale runs to 100. Most coalition species, depending on caste and origin, report first discomfort somewhere between 30 and 60. The Scathani mineral adaptation record was 77. Cella Marin reported first discomfort at 91. When Orvan asked her to describe the sensation at 91, she said it was noticeable. When he asked what she had thought the instrument was doing before that point, she said she had assumed it was still calibrating. Orvan wrote something down. He did not show me what he wrote. Cardiovascular load assessment. Resting output measured against species normalized exertion tables. The tables cover 412 species. There is a column marked Deathworld Origin, Class 12 and above, which I had used twice before. Prior Class 12 subjects had indexed in the elevated range. Notable, logged, filed, form closed. Cella Marin's resting output indexed off the Class 12 column. Orvan asked the instrument to recalculate against the Class 13 column. Still off. Class 14. The instrument paused. It was not designed to pause. It returned a result, and then beneath the result, a line of text I had not seen before. Referenced to maximum exceeded manual classification required. Marin folded up her empty wrapper and looked around for somewhere to put it. I handed her a waste receptacle. She thanked me. Bone density imaging. The scan takes 3 minutes and generates a structural map coded by density gradient. The color scale runs from pale blue at the low end to deep red at the high end. I had run hundreds of these scans. The maps were usually pale blue with patches of green, organic, variable, unremarkable. Marin's map came back almost entirely red. In 22 years, Orvan told me quietly, he had seen 2 red patches on a single subject, never a full map. He stood looking at the display for a long time. Then he asked her if she had ever sustained a significant skeletal injury. She thought about it. She said she'd broken her left forearm in 2 places when she was 11, doing something she described as a thing with a rope swing and a creek bank that didn't work out. She said it had healed in 6 weeks. She said the doctor had called it unremarkable. Orvan did not write anything down after that. He went to the classification terminal. I watched him open the intake form, her form, the one I had started 40 minutes ago, with her name and her cohort number and the blank fields, waiting to be filled. He scrolled through the category index. The index covers every species, every caste, every variant origin the Directorate has encountered in 4 centuries of coalition expansion. It has a drawer for everything. That is what Orvan had told me on my first day. The index has a drawer for everything, tail sound. Your job is to find the right drawer. He scrolled for a while. Then he typed 1 word into the classification field, other. He printed the form. He signed it. He put it in the outgoing tray with the same precise motion he used for every form, every day, without variation or ceremony. Then he opened a second window on the terminal and began composing a message to the Directorate's personnel office. See enough of the header to read it. It was a retirement submission. I looked at Marin. She was watching Orvan type. Expression was the same as it had been for the entire session. Mild, unhurried, slightly interested in the proceedings. In the way a person is interested in something that does not particularly concern them. She asked if she was free to go. Orvan, without turning from the terminal, said yes. She stood, smoothed the front of her jacket, and walked out of Bay 7. The door closed behind her. I looked at the outgoing tray. I looked at the displays, still showing the red density map. I looked at Orvan's back. I asked him, quietly, because the room felt like somewhere you should be quiet, what I should put in the notes field of the supplementary log. He didn't answer immediately. He finished his message, read it once, and sent it. Then he turned around. He looked at me, the way a man looks at a question he has already decided not to answer for the rest of his life. Picked up his coat from the hook by the door. Leave the notes field blank, he said, and he walked out. I sat in Bay 7 for a while after that. The instruments were still on. The density map was still red. The form was in the tray with its 1-word classification and its empty notes field. And outside of the corridor, a Class 15 deathworlder was walking to wherever she was going next. Mildly tired from the crossing, finished with the only thing on her schedule that morning. I turned off the instruments one by one. I did not fill in the notes field. Some things, I was beginning to understand, the index just doesn't have a drawer for. And the right response to that, the only honest response, is to leave the field blank and go home.